This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Make another smart choice with Auto Quote Explorer to compare rates from multiple car insurance companies all at once. Try it at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Welcome to the No Guilt Mom podcast. I'm your host, Joanne Crone. And if you have a tween or teen boy, you need to hear this episode because you may be noticing a shift in your child and he gets emotional, and instead of talking it out, he shuts down. Meanwhile, your daughter or your friend's daughters are narrating every feeling in full detail, and you're left wondering, why is my tween son emotionally distant? And is this the start of when we start losing our connection? But what if that quiet isn't rejection? What if it's boys pulling inward that's part of a developmental shift, not a relationship failure? And what if what looks like he won't talk to me is actually your son's brain trying to stay efficient, avoid discomfort, and protect himself socially? So today in this episode, we're going to break this apart in 3 separate sections. We're going to talk about what's happening in a tween teen boy's brain when he goes quiet or acts impulsive. And also, my son would probably get on me for even referring to him as a tween. The biggest mistakes moms make when behavior shifts and what to do instead, and how to stay connected and influential with your son. Stay with us because in this episode, you're going to hear why deep talks can actually backfire with teen and tween boys and what you can do to preserve your connection instead. And to help us do that today is Heidi Allsop. She is the founder of Raising Boys, Building Men, a master certified life and parenting coach, and the host of the Raising Boys, Building Men podcast. She is a mom of 5 sons, ages 31, 28, 26, 23, and 18. So she's lived the full arc of raising boys into men and launching them into adulthood. Heidi helps moms stop trying to fix behavior and stop getting stuck in arguments so that they can reconnect, rebuild influence, and parent their sons with confidence without losing themselves in the process. And Raising Boys, Building Men is her movement focused on raising happy, resilient, capable men. And with that, let's get on with the show. Heidi, we were talking all about boys. I have a 12-year-old boy, and I'm really excited to talk with you because I want to know what's coming up for these teen years. I've had a daughter. I know about that, but already I'm seeing a little bit of differences between daughters and sons, especially the shutdown and not talking to me when he gets emotional versus my daughter who is like, Mom, let me explain. Blah! Like everything.
So true. Yes, so true. Buckle up. Buckle up. It's going to be a ride, sister.
Okay. So tell me, how many sons do you have and what are their ages?
So I have 5 sons. Our oldest is 31 and he is giving us granddaughters, which is really fun. Girls after all these years.
Crazy.
Yeah. And then I have another son that's 28 and another one that's 26 and 23. And then I have an 18-year-old that's a senior in high school. So we're almost ready to launch them all into the world. And I've been doing this a long time, raising boys for 31 years and raising teenagers for a long time. I've had, of course, hundreds of teenage boys through my house over the years. And these teenage years, they're so fun. Like I would always choose the teenage years, but they do come with a unique set of worries and concerns. Definitely. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I could see that. Having 5 boys, is there a general kind of emotional progression you see them go through as they age?
Yeah, it's interesting because my experience and my education, they fall into 2 categories. They'll either start being quiet and reserved and shutdown's extreme. It's not necessarily shut down. They just kind of get a little more into themselves or they become super impulsive and the class clown and a little more acting out that cart before the horse, do before I think. So they fall into one of two categories. And I've had with the 5 boys, I've had boys in each category. So everyone's a little unique and a little different, but they still need their mom and their dad for sure. I never want to discount the power of a father, but they need their mom to stay steady while they are going up and down and all around. And so that's what I get to do, help the mom stay steady.
Is there like one personality type that you found easier, like for you and your personality type, rather the impulsive one or the kind of like quiet or withdrawn?
Yeah. Well, I think that for me, I'm such a verbal processor that when our oldest, when he got into junior high, he got quiet. He was our first, and I didn't know what to expect. I thought everything. I thought, this is terrible. Maybe he's shutting down for a reason. Maybe things aren't going well at school or in his sports teams, or personally, maybe he's into some things that are really causing some problems because he was just quiet. I didn't know.
All those worries.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I totally identify with those.
Yes. And so my brain wanted to close the story, right? It wanted to finish the story, the unknown. And so if my brain, and brains do this, if they're just left unsupervised, these brains of ours, they're going to go to these scenarios that protect
the
us.
catastrophizing,
right?
the everything's wrong. Yes.
And our brains do that in a way to prepare us for the worst case scenario, but it doesn't serve us because then we worry. And it certainly doesn't serve our relationship or our parenting. And so when he started to get quiet, I was really worried and I didn't really know how to interact. And we still had a great relationship. There was still a lot of love in our home, and there were 5 boys. So there was always a lot going on. But those 3:00 in the morning wake ups for a mom, there was a lot going on in my head. What's going on with him? What's happening? And looking back, if I were to do it over again, I absolutely would settle down. But that comes from learning and understanding. And so we're going to talk about that today, which I'm so excited about.
Well, based on what you were learning and understanding, what actually is going on beneath the surface when boys just kind of withdraw a little bit?
Yeah. So I don't want to bore anybody. So I'm just going to give a real high level, talk about brains. We have 2 parts of our brain. We have that executive function, that prefrontal cortex. And in boys, especially teenage boys, that prefrontal cortex is nowhere close to developed. It will develop fully when they're about 26 or 27, which is terrible news for those of us who have a 12-year-old or a 14-year-old, right?
Something we talk about a lot on the podcast, how it's not fully developed until that age.
No. So their executive function, their impulse control, their verbal, their emotional intelligence, all of that is just very much under construction. And then there's this primitive part of our brain that it seeks pleasure, avoids pain, and wants to stay efficient. And with a teenage boy, that part of their brain is kind of running the show.
Right.
So if you think about your teenage son, he's seeking pleasure, whether it's video games or scrolling on his phone or food or sports or whatever he's seeking pleasure with. He's trying to avoid pain, right? I don't want to do my homework. That takes mental effort. And I don't want to put myself out there because I'm a little insecure. And he wants to stay efficient. And something that's not efficient is having deep conversations with your mother.
Yes.
Or giving information that you just don't feel is necessary. So they stop talking, they quiet down, they get very introspective. And sometimes we take it as an offense, we take it personal.
Right.
And that is just not what's happening for this teenage boy.
It's so interesting. You mentioned efficiency, staying efficient. That's never occurred to me that's one of the motivations going on, because you and I are both verbal processors. And that's how we actually figure out our feelings versus boys are kind of raised in a world where they have to mask up essentially, because you have to be seen as productive. You have to be seen as strong by your peers. I can imagine it would be incredibly hard to be a boy.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you think about it, I was told when my boys were little, and I found this to be very true. Girls need to be emotionally exhausted and boys need to become physically exhausted. That's why they're always wrestling with each other or always moving around, or they participate in sports or athletics or find a passion with debate or robotics or whatever it is that your son is into. And they do find a passion for something because they need that outlet. They really do. And they don't get it verbally the same way that girls do.
Yeah.
Which is true.
That, you know what, just raising a boy and raising a girl and seeing the differences, especially at sleepovers, it's unbelievable. Like I will come downstairs where like the kids are. And when my daughter was having sleepovers, it would be all the girls talking and really like kind of noisy and laughing and like some like roughhousing, but like not too much. And then I come downstairs with my son's friends, their shirts are off and they're doing like WrestleMania. And I'm like, what is
happening?
This? And I go to my husband, I'm like, this is how boys are, Josh? And he's like, yeah, like, and he said something so interesting, and I'm wondering what your take on this is the boys needing that physical stuff, but they also need human touch. And the wrestling is kind of a way that they connect with each other that is socially acceptable. What do you think about that?
1,000% true. 1,000%. Yeah. And in a family of all boys, I really had to adjust that mindset early, that when they touch each other, when they wrestle with each other, when they trip each other, like our poor youngest son, I don't think he walked 3 steps without being tripped or, just kind of roughhouse just a little bit. And it's how they show their affection. It really is. And so as moms, that's a really important thing to remember. I am a huge advocate for doing whatever physically they will allow. So sometimes when I work with moms, it's, will he stay in the room with you when you come in? This is how we test our connection with them. If you walk into the kitchen, does he stay there? If he stays there, that's a really good sign that there's some connection. And then walk over to him and put your hand on his back or scratch his back or sit next to him on the couch and just kind of see what his reaction is, because that's a great nonverbal test for how connected you still are. So if your son will come in and, sit on your lap and snuggle with you, that's a good sign that he feels safe with you, even if he's not telling you his deepest, darkest secrets. And so
I'm going to keep that in mind, Heidi.
Yeah,
because
it's true, Joanne, because as your 12-year-old is starting to get a little more quiet, a little more reserved, not all is lost. It's still possible to be extremely connected. And you'll test that by these little physical things. Will he let me sit next to him on the couch? Will he let me, put my hand on his back and scratch his back? Will he stay in the same room when I'm in there? So there are ways that we can test our connection with him that don't have to be verbal.
You know that thing where you get an amazing pair of shoes at a really great price and want to tell everyone about it? Yeah, so do we. Here at Designer Shoe Warehouse, we'll give you something to brag about, like the latest styles from brands you love, or the trends everyone's obsessing over, or shoes that make you feel like, well, you. So go ahead, show off a little. Find shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. Head to your DSW store or DSW.com today. DSW, let us surprise you.
You know what's interesting about tax season? It's one of the only times most people actually stop and look at their full financial picture. Earnings, spending, savings, all of it. And honestly, it made me realize I wanted that kind of clarity year-round, not just once a year when the IRS makes me do it. Instead of just looking back and cringing, I'm now looking forward and I'm making moves. And for a mom who's trying to plan for kids' activities, save for a family vacation, and not completely ignore retirement, that clarity is everything. That's where Monarch comes in. I'm not just tracking spending and feeling bad. I'm actually hitting milestones. And when that tax refund hits, I know exactly where it's going to make the biggest difference for my family. Simplify your finances with Monarch. Monarch is the all-in-one personal finance tool designed to make your life easier. It brings your entire financial life, budgeting, accounts, and investments, net worth, and future planning together in one dashboard on your phone or laptop. Feel aware and in control of your finances this tax season and get 50% off your Monarch subscription with code NOGUILT. Achieve your financial goals for good with Monarch, the all-in-one tool that makes money management simple. Use code NOGUILT at monarch.com for half off your first year. That's 50% off at monarch.com, code NOGUILT. You know what I love about kids? Every single one of them is wired differently. My kids learn in totally different ways, and honestly, that used to stress me out, but then I realized that's not a problem to fix. That's something to celebrate. So if your child is the kind of kid who thrives with a little more flexibility, a little more personalization, or just a different environment altogether, I want to tell you about K-12 powered schools. K-12 powered schools are tuition-free, online, accredited public schools for kindergarten through 12th grade. And before you say, isn't that just homeschooling? No. K-12 powered schools has state certified teachers trained specifically in online education, giving your kids personalized instruction and real-time support. Your child learns at their own pace with curriculum tailored to their goals, needs, and interests, whether they need more challenge, more support, or just more breathing room. With over 25 years of experience helping more than 3 million families, K-12 powered schools could be the perfect fit for your kid too. Enrollment portals are open right now. Visit k12.com/NGM to find a K-12 powered school near you. That's the letter K, the number 12.com/NGM. K12.com/NGM. Okay, I love that. Like, two major things I've learned from you so far is that first, that boys want to be efficient in their time and behavior. And that's something that completely blows my mind, is that's not a motivation that I have in relationships or in general. And then the testing the connection through physical proximity and physicality.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because when you were saying that, I'm like, what if your boy tries to wrestle you and take you down every time? I'm like, that is such a boy thing.
Such a boy thing. Yes, there still can be boundaries. Like, we can't tackle mom, but
we can't tackle mom.
Yes. But you can decide what that boundary is, and what, my boys, they would always, come sit on my lap and let me scratch their back, or let me cuddle up next to them on the couch. And there were some times where they didn't want that, and sometimes where they did. And I would just take those cues. Yeah.
Well, I think the issue also comes from, like, it feels like rejection when you want to talk, or even like saying when you come into the room, does he leave? I mean, huge rejection starts building up. Like, if that's not rejection and he is leaving when you come to the room, like, what's happening during that time?
Yeah, such a good question. And part of that is because we've had this relationship with this little boy, and he's 6 and 7 and 8, and he holds our hand when we walk through the grocery store. And, it's just, those little boys, they
love on their mama so much.
They love on their mom.
And then they get to the stage, Heidi, where you're hugging them, and he's like, not in public.
So true. It's so true. And we take it as rejection, where if we can reframe that as, this is just a different relationship. He's a teenager. He's a different kid than he was at 6 and 7 and 8. And I am now a mother to a teenager. It's not that we're not close anymore, and it's not personal rejection. It's just that I've never parented this particular teenager before, and he's never been a teenager before. And so if we can just look at it like, our relationship is different, but it's not broken, that is really going to help us look for ways to stay connected, instead of looking for ways that he is hurting our feelings or not talking to us anymore.
What are some mistakes that moms make during this stage when their teen sons start pulling away a little bit emotionally?
We panic. And then here's what happens is, maybe your son comes home from school and you say, how's your day? And he says, fine, or good, right? You get the one word answer. If you're lucky, you get the one word answer. And then he wants to go and play video games by himself, or be by himself. And all of a sudden now we're thinking something terrible happened at school, and he just doesn't want to tell me about it. And our brain's closing the loop. It's closing the story, even though we don't know. It's creating scenarios, and we start to panic, right? And when moms panic, we either overparent or we underparent. So we're either going to go back in that room and be like, listen, you got to tell me what happened at school. And is somebody making fun of you? Or did something terrible happen? Did you fail your math test? Right? All of a sudden now we are so on him that he feels claustrophobic and wants to pull away. Or we underparent and we're like, whatever. I feel so bad, like my feelings are hurt, whatever. And we just distance ourselves from him. And so that panic parenting or parenting from fear, it just doesn't serve us and it doesn't serve him. And it certainly doesn't serve our relationship. So we want to look at what we're thinking that is creating that panic in us and just start telling ourselves the truth. I don't know what happened at school today. And I do know that when he's ready, he's going to tell me if there's even a problem. There might not be a problem. What if everything is fine, right? All of these things we can start managing our own brain before we feel like we have to go manage his.
Yeah, it is a situation where you do feel like you need to manage your kids' emotions. And I think it's from all of this info from outside, like whether it's the media, whether it's culture, of saying like the best mom has happy kids.
Yes.
This is a saying I detest. I absolutely detest it because I think it does create that fear in moms.
And if you really look at the truth, is the best moms are the moms that mentor and guide their child through all the emotions.
Right?
Right?
Yeah.
Isn't that like what we want to do? We want them to help, or we want to help them navigate pain and sadness and rejection and happiness and joy and peace. Like we want them to learn how to navigate the full gamut of emotions, not just to be happy all the time. That's not the goal.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's not the goal.
No, you need to be able to go through those painful emotions as well. And it's so hard too when you see your kids going through those painful emotions. I mean, you mentioned if there is a problem, if they come to you later. I mean, there have been instances in this past year with my son, he started middle school, where there's been issues. I know there's been issues because he said he wants to be alone. He doesn't want to talk about it. And the thing that I do during that time, and I want to hear what you do when your boys used to do this, I like to communicate with him through text during those times. Yeah. That's how he likes to. And I just said, hey, like, I am here for you if you need me. Please let me know what I can do. And he was texting back, I just don't want to talk about it. I'm like, totally cool. I get it. But what do you do during that time when they just, it feels like rejection and they don't want to talk?
Yeah. Well, I love what you're doing because you're keeping a line of communication right through text. It feels very non-threatening to him. So I love what you're doing. Another thing that my husband and I would really try and do when we knew one of our kids was struggling, we would tell them stories about when we were kids. So maybe my husband would say, oh my goodness, this thing happened to me when I was in the 7th grade and it was so hard. And I just remember feeling so alone and telling a story, a personal story that now that son can identify with my husband. And here's the connection that they make. Dad's fine. Like dad made it through. And so I can too. Like this hard thing happened to dad or mom when they were my age and they're great. They're fine now. You know, it's all okay. And all of a sudden now they can see that progression and it gives them that inner knowing that this is going to be okay without having to divulge everything and to rehearse it and then to give you an update on it every day. Like that just is not efficient. It doesn't feel good to that teenage boy.
That's exhausting for anybody, I feel.
Yeah.
And what you mentioned about sharing stories about yourself, I too find that I can't share it right there in the moment, but I try to sprinkle them throughout when like the emotions aren't as high.
Yeah.
I cannot share those stories when he's breaking down because it sounds like I'm making the problem about me.
Yeah. And you could say, you know what? I completely understand, buddy. You take all the time you need. I remember I've done junior high. It's rough. It's hard. And I'm here when you need me. Right. So he makes that connection. Mom's done this and she's okay. Dad's done this and he's okay. Just gives them that little spark that, okay, this is going to be fine.
This is going to be fine. Yeah.
So yeah, anytime you can connect your experience with his experience, it's going to help him realize that, okay, I'm not a unicorn.
Right.
This is normal and it's okay. Yeah.
1 second, you're finally cleaning out the gutters. The next, the fire alarm blares from inside. Smoke billows out the kitchen window. These are the wake-up calls that happen daily. In 1 second, everything can change. ADT knows that nobody wants to feel unsafe or unprepared for an emergency, especially in their own home. That's why they offer affordable DIY security systems you can set up yourself and monitor from virtually anywhere with the ADT Plus app. They're customizable so you can set up the system that works best for you and keep an eye on it in real time. And ADT security technology is designed for peace of mind by making it easier for first responders to identify your house. They have the most company-operated monitoring centers in the industry, which means you'll get the alerts that matter for you and your home. You tackle that to-do list, ADT will help make sure your home's protected. When every second counts, count on ADT. Visit ADT.com to learn more.
Zootopia 2 has come home to Disney Plus.
Let's go!
Get ready for a new case.
We're the greatest partners of all time!
New friends.
Gary the Snake.
And your last name?
The Snake.
Dream Team. And new habitats.
Zootopia has a secret reptile population.
You can watch the record-breaking phenomenon at home. Zootopia 2, now available on Disney Plus, rated PG. And right now you can get Disney Plus and Hulu for just $4.99 a month for 3 months with a special limited time offer. Ends March 24th. After 3 months, plan auto renews at $12.99 a month. Terms apply.
Are you stuck staring at your W-2? Are tax refund worries holding you back? You probably have FOMO, the fear of messing up. The fix? Using TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They find every credit and deduction to help you get every refund dollar you deserve. Or your money back. It's time to overcome your fear of messing up and get your taxes done right. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
Right. And speaking of like connecting experiences, you say that moms are often doing better than they think. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. Listen, us moms, I don't know why, but we are so hard on ourselves. We just are. And we think that if our son comes home and isolates himself in his room, we are so fast to turn it on. Oh my goodness, what have I done? Am I doing something wrong? Do I need to do something different? Am I doing this all wrong? And it really doesn't have anything to do with us, right? So we want to just allow him to have the experiences that he needs to have and realize that just the fact that we got up in the morning and we tried again, that's doing better than we think. If we can stay in that mind frame that I'm engaged, I'm present, I'm aware, and I'm trying, that's enough. It's enough.
That's all we could really expect of ourselves.
Yes.
Like, I'm aware and I'm present are two like big things
Yes.
right there.
Yes.
Looking back to like when I was growing up, parents weren't really told these things to be aware and connected and present. It was like so achievement based in our childhoods. And I feel like, and I want to hear your opinion on this too, Heidi, but do you feel like there is a shift in most parents towards considering emotions and like kind of scaling back our involvement in our kids' emotions? Or do you feel like just working in the field, you may see more parents who are concerned about that with other parents parenting the way they were parented?
Yeah. It's interesting because I see a polarization. I see kids becoming parents and then really harshly judging their own parents, right?
Yeah.
My parents didn't do it the way I'm doing it. And while I know there are so many circumstances and everybody has a different scenario, I just choose to wake up in the morning and think that everybody's doing the best they can with the knowledge they have.
Yeah.
Right? With the
Assume
knowledge.
good intent.
Yes. Everybody's doing the best they can with the knowledge that they have. And we have more knowledge now than our parents did about emotions and the importance of emotional intelligence. We have more information now. And so I think we're doing a better job of talking about emotions, sifting through emotions and addressing emotions with our kids. And the pendulum sometimes swings so far the other direction that we forget to discipline. We forget to be the parent because our kids having emotions. So we want to stay in the middle. I just always think the middle is like where the sweet spot is. And I think we're doing better. And we still have a job to do with being the parent. So helping our kids understand, name their emotions, sift through their emotions. Yes, so important. And we still want to parent, even if they're having emotions, because that's how the
Yeah.
world is. That's how life is.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I could say like I have internal struggles with this as well, where I am really concerned about my son's emotions, particularly because you hear all these scary statistics about like the suicide rate being really high among teen boys. And so anytime I see him upset, I'm like, oh my gosh, I really need to get in there. And at the same time, he has responsibilities here in the house. And a lot of those responsibilities means that he kind of pushes back against them, which is normal. There might be a lot of emotions about them as well. And I find myself sometimes conflicted about, okay, how hard do I push this right now versus when do I need to honor the emotions? So I totally see that struggle in parents about discipline and parenting. And have you read the book, The Courage to Be Disliked?
No.
Have you heard of this book? Okay, great book. A little hefty, like a little like, because it's a story between a philosopher and a student. But one thing that is standing out to me right now is that everybody has their specific life tasks. And one of them is about emotions. We individually handle our own emotions. It is up to us. And so something that's been helping me think through this with my son in regards to this discipline versus emotion thing is that I need to give him the space to deal with his own life tasks of emotions so that he gets practice handling them. And I'm not the one trying to control them with, scaling back or not asking him to do as much.
Yeah. Well, and that's such wisdom, because if you're always managing his emotions, guess what he never has to learn how to do?
Exactly.
Manage his emotions. And remember that efficiency part. Like that teenage boy wants to be efficient. So if someone else is, I see this with homework all the time, and I've been guilty of it myself, right? Mom's checking the missing work every single day, and she's like just on him. Well, guess what he doesn't have to think about ever?
Yeah.
Missing work,
doing the
or
homework,
handing the stuff in, or because mom's thinking about it. And in his mind, he's like, she's got this. She's going to tell me what to do. And he never has to own up to schoolwork. And if we do the same thing with their emotions, then they're going to get to be 16, 17, 18 years old, and they're going to have big emotions. And mom's not going to be there to manage those. And then they never learned how. They never built those little emotional muscles. And now all of a sudden they need big emotional muscles, and they don't have them.
Right. Emotions are so hard to deal with.
Yeah. Right. And what we want, our goal is to raise a man, right? That is independent and resilient and all of the things. If we never give him an opportunity to build those muscles when he's a boy and a teenager, then that man, and this is what we're seeing in society, there's a million statistics to back it up. Men are struggling to launch. They're struggling to be resilient. They're struggling to provide. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that they didn't build those little muscles when they were children and teenagers.
Oh, that's a mic drop moment, Heidi. It's very true.
Yes.
It's very, very true. And I see that among some like moms who are in my same peer group, moms who I've been friends with since their kids were in elementary school, just seeing how they handle the boys. And I see it. I'm like not letting a boy go to school without his lunchbox, or like bringing his lunch to him so he never has to handle those big emotions of what do I do when I forget my lunch?
Yeah.
I would even say like raising a boy, emotions affect him a lot more physically than my daughter's emotions affect her. And it's interesting how we all process emotions in different ways. And I mean, it's characteristic among boys and men to kind of stuff them down and hold them in.
And part of that is in their DNA, right? Wired to protect, provide, and procreate. Like that's how they're wired. That's why they need moms and dads to help them develop an emotional vocabulary.
Yes.
Because otherwise, and you'll see this, otherwise teenage boys will turn any emotion into anger. Like it's just, if they're frustrated, they're angry. If they're insecure, they're angry. It's just, anger's so easy. So easy.
Yeah, it is easy.
Yeah. So that's one thing that if we don't help them to develop and normalize all the different emotions, like it's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to feel insecure. It's okay to be all of the things. if we don't teach them that and normalize that and let that be okay, if we manage that for them, then any emotion that they feel going forward is just going to be anger. It's just way easier.
Oh, it is, because you don't have to be vulnerable to
Mhm.
anybody else when you're angry. You're in control.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, you've shared so many great things, Heidi. First of all, this whole efficiency thing, like it is going to make me look at situations in a much different way. Like, how much am I taking over versus letting my son, my child experience on their own? And just the exercise of the little emotional muscles too. What is like one tip you have for moms to stay connected with their boys
Yeah.
during this time?
Yeah. I love that you asked that. I have a freebie. I'll give it to you. You can offer it to your audience, but it's 8 tips to connect with your teenager today. And it's simple,
awesome.
simple things that you can do today. And one of them is to look him in the eye when you talk to him. As soon as I started paying attention to that, I realized that I wonder if this boy's gone all day without anyone looking him in the eye when they're talking to him. And I
Oh,
want to be that person, because you can see so much when you just
can.
simply look them in the eye when you're having a conversation. They feel seen. You see,
Mm.
there's that emotional connection, there's that nonverbal connection. It's just a great way to really gauge, where is he? Just want to look him in the eye. And one thing, too, that I want to mention before we close is that your 12-year-old, he just wants to be independent. So these teenage boys, like their whole goal is independence, which it's hard. We love to be needed, right? Us moms, we
Ugh,
love to be needed. But if you think about it, it's your goal too. You do not want
yes.
this kid to live with you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Trust
No.
me, right? I've launched kids. They get to be 18, 19. Like you're ready for them to go learn some things without you. And so we don't want to stifle that desire for independence when it starts showing up. So your 12-year-old is now thinking, oh my goodness, I want to be independent. And we want to embrace that and give him what he's capable of handling in terms of independence. And
Absolutely.
it's a give and take. We have
It is
horses.
a give and take.
Yes. And I always like to make the analogy that it's like when you're riding a horse and you have the reins. And sometimes you can loosen the reins and the horse will do what it needs to do. And sometimes you have to tighten the reins and take control back. And that's like this 4 or 5 year thing that we do during adolescence. And so
It's funny. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that with like the independence thing, because me and my husband were just getting ready to go on a trip and we're leaving our kids behind. And our daughter, 17, she's going to stay at the house on her own. She can do that. My son is like, but I want to stay at the house too. And we're like, I'm sorry, you're 12. You're gonna go with your grandma. Like,
that's not
is
gonna
that
happen.
like,
Yeah.
it's that independence where I'm like pushing back a little bit on it. If he was like 15, 16, yes, we would consider it then.
Yes.
But at 12, no.
Yeah.
And that independence, it's so interesting that you mentioned it, because I was a kid who wanted to be very, very independent. And I actually personally don't like being needed. I want to be wanted. And I kind of push for independence a little more, and my kids push back against me a little more, just because I think that's how the parent-child relationship goes.
Absolutely.
But your tip about looking in the eye, so good, so simple.
Yeah. If you connect the independence with the connection, like,
yes,
you know, in the back of your head, he just wants independence. That is such a great connector, because you know that when I look him in the eye, what he really wants is for me to see what he's capable of. He wants me to see that he can do this thing. And so it's just such a great connector if we remember his goal and our goal. And then when we do those little things to connect, he's feeling it. And in such a profound way that it keeps you connected. And if you stay connected, you stay influential. You lose that connection, he's looking around it for other influences.
I love that. If you stay connected, you stay influential. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Heidi, for coming on today. I've learned so much from you that I am going to apply to my own parenting. And where can people find you?
Yeah. So I really appreciate this conversation. I just think you're doing such beautiful things in the world, Joanne, and such needed things for moms. I love what you're doing. People can find me. I have a podcast. It's called Raising Boys, Building Men. I have a website, Raising Boys, Building Men. I will give you this 8 tips to connect. If anybody wants to go grab that, then you'll you'll come into my world and I'll take very good care of you. So Raising Boys, Building Men, Heidi Allsop coaching. I'm super easy to find.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. And to everyone else, we have all those links for you in the show notes. Remember, the best mom is a happy mom. Take care of you. I'll talk with you later. If you'd like to support the show further, you can share episodes with your loved ones, leave a positive review, or follow us on social media at No Guilt Mom. You could also show your love by visiting our amazing podcast sponsors. We have a link in the show notes.